Okay, let's dive right into this explainer and look at why treating your AI spend like a predictable software license is, well, a critical mistake. For decades, we've been conditioned to buy tech in these neat, predictable packages, right? Per seat, per month, per year. But as we transition into this new agentic era, that mental model isn't just outdated, it's actually financially dangerous. So today, we're unpacking a strategic framework based on Paul Ranjan's token economics to really understand how autonomous AI consumes resources. We're going to see exactly why you need to start treating your AI agent fleet as a dynamic workforce, rather than just a static piece of software. Here's a quick look at our roadmap for today. We're going to hit the AI billing shock, the physics of the meter, the rereading tax, the agent workforce, the workforce ledger, and finally the maturity ladder. Essentially, we're moving from the raw, bare metal physics of how AI actually works and bills you all the way up to those big, board-level business outcomes. So starting off with the AI billing shock. Let's look at the immediate reality that most enterprises are facing right now when they start adopting AI. You spin up a few pilots, everything looks absolutely amazing, and then, bam, the invoice arrives at the end of the month. I love this quote from the source material because it just perfectly captures that total shock organizations feel. You discover your AI bill the exact same way you discover a leak, after the water damage. And usually that happens right as your CFO is asking for budget updates. You see, AI cost is no longer just a subset of your standard cloud bill. You can't just reserve instances or turn them off at night like you're used to. This is a completely new discipline with its own vocabulary and its own metrics. But before we can fix the leak, we really have to understand the core unit of labor, which is the token. Think of using an LLM like riding a taxi in a foreign city. You don't pay a flat fee for the trip, you pay per tick of the meter. And here's the catch. That meter ticks in a unit you didn't even choose. It ticks in tokens, not words. It ticks faster depending on the language or format, and it acts exactly like a taxi meter that literally never sleeps. For context, a token is roughly 4 characters of English, so about 3/4 of a word. But every single thing the AI reads or writes is metered by this tiny atomic unit. Moving on to the physics of that meter and why exactly output ends up costing you so much more. What's absolutely fascinating here is how the physical reality of the servers dictates your final invoice. It's not just some arbitrary pricing made up by the providers, it's physics. Basically, reading a prompt is fundamentally different from generating an answer. When a model reads your input, which is called prefill, it processes everything in parallel across the GPU. Think of it like a speed reader taking a quick, instant photograph of a page. But writing the answer, the decode phase, that's more like painstaking calligraphy. The model is generating output sequentially, one token at a time. And for every single new stroke, it has to recheck everything it's written so far. This image illustrates that divide perfectly. The prefill phase processes your input all at once. Sure, it's compute heavy, but it's fast and it's cheap. Decode, on the other hand, is completely memory-bound. Generating one token at a time requires this constant, unbroken attention over all the prior tokens. And that physical constraint is exactly why output tokens carry a massive 4 to 6 times price premium compared to input tokens. Which brings us to the rereading tax and the economics of memory. The really crucial takeaway here is that your bills don't actually spike from a single expensive API call. They spike from systems quietly paying to reread what they already know. To really wrap your head around this, imagine renting a whiteboard for a consultant meeting. But there's a huge catch. You have to pay to rewrite every single word on that board every single time you add a new thought to it. Early in the meeting, sure, it's cheap. But 2 hours in, that board is covered edge to edge, and you are paying to rewrite the entire thing just to add one new sentence. That is exactly how an AI context window works. It isn't free memory. It's a whiteboard that you're re-renting in full on every single turn. And because of this compounding effect, the math gets terrifying really quickly. Let's say you have a simple 40-turn conversation where you're adding just 500 tokens a turn. That doesn't cost you 20,000 tokens. No, it quadratically explodes into roughly 410,000 billed tokens because the system just keeps sending the entire history back over and over and over again. Now let's talk about the agent workforce. This is the real core of our explainer, where we look at the massive regime shift from simple chat to autonomous agent fleets. This is where fleet economics truly takes over. the entire shape of the workload completely changes. If a standard chatbot politely sips tokens, and a RAG system where you attach document retrieval, if that drinks tokens, an autonomous agent basically leaves the tap running wide open. We're moving from a few thousand tokens per interaction to an entirely different universe of scale. Just look at these workload shapes. An agent running a loop of planning, tool calling, and thinking routinely burns through tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of tokens per task. It reads the transcript, executes a tool, reads the result, updates its plan, and loops all the way back. And every single iteration incurs that compounding rereading tax we just talked about. And when you start deploying advanced autonomous tools like coding agents, they actually stack 4 bills simultaneously. They consume massive contexts, like entire code repositories. They run long loops consisting of dozens of calls. They spit out highly verbose text like build logs. Oh, and they have reasoning switched on by default, which bills invisible thinking tokens at those premium output rates. A single debugging session can silently rack up $7 before anyone even checks a dashboard, assuming they ever do. Because of this massive automated consumption, we have to completely shift our mental model. This leads us to the workforce ledger. You aren't paying for a software license anymore. You are actively managing a dynamic labor force. You can no longer rely on looking at some weak monthly invoice. By the time you see it, the money is already gone. What you need are corporate cards with strict limits for your digital workers. This means implementing gateway-enforced budget hierarchies and incredibly strict real-time session caps. Think about it. You wouldn't dream of giving a brand new human employee an unlimited corporate credit card without manager approval, right? So you absolutely cannot give an agent API access without a rigid spending boundary. This quote right here is a vital warning. An agent without a maximum step count is an unbounded liability. You have to enforce expense reports and productivity records for this digital workforce. If an unmonitored agent gets confused and gets caught in a retry loop, it will silently drain your budget overnight, just firing off thousands of massive context window requests. You've got to treat your agent fleet as a workforce where every agent has a specific wage, a productivity record, and a detailed expense report. Finally, let's step up to the maturity ladder. We need to translate all of this incredibly technical token usage into the language that the board and the CFO actually care about. Because let's be honest, nobody in the C-suite cares about token costs. This framework shows us exactly how to elevate that conversation. We need to move step by step from raw infrastructure metrics all the way up to the actual business value being delivered. This is the absolute hallmark of true AI tokenomics maturity. So let's climb this ladder together. Step 1 is cost per token. That's just what the meter says. Step 2 is cost per session, which engineering manages with things like caching and routing. Step 3 is cost per workflow, which is managed by the product team. But step 4, that is the holy grail, cost per intelligent outcome. That's what the business is actually buying: a resolved ticket, a merge pull request, a fully processed insurance claim. The tokenomics practitioner's ultimate goal is to confidently deliver a translation just like this one. You need to be able to walk into an executive boardroom and prove that AI ticket resolution costs a fraction of human handling. For example, 14 pesos versus 260 pesos, while maintaining the exact same quality and customer satisfaction. That right there is how you justify the entire fleet. I want to leave you with this final thought to really chew on as you evaluate your own organization's AI strategy moving forward. Are you still trying to manage your AI as a predictable software license, or are you prepared to implement the ledgers, the limits, and the business translations required to manage an unbounded digital workforce? Get the foundation right, and you unlock literally unprecedented scale. Get it wrong, and well, the meter will just keep ticking. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.